Hi, this is Scott Wilkinson, host of Home Theater Geeks. In episode 308, I chat with composer Terrence Huntington about composing for movies, the new theme music for Home Theater Geeks, and his home theater. So stay tuned.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Home Theater Geeks is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Home Theater Geeks with Scott Wilkinson, recorded June 16th, 2016. Episode 308, Composing for Movies and Home Theater Geeks. This episode of Home Theater Geeks is brought to you by Corning. Corning's incredibly durable Thunderbolt and USB 3-point optical cables are longer, thinner, lighter, and stronger. Go to corning.com/twit to save up to $130 on their superior Thunderbolt optical cables. And by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/EcoTank to find out more. Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here, the Home Theater Geek and editor of avsforum.com. This week's guest geek is Terrence Huntington, a film composer and the composer of the new Home Theater Geeks theme music. Hey, Terrence, thanks for being here.
Hello, Scott. The privilege is all mine. Thank you very much.
Well, mine too, because your new music for the show is really great. I really love it, and I've been getting all kinds of great feedback on it. So thank you very much for that. We're going to talk about that during the show. But before we do, I want to make sure that everybody who's watching live at live.twit.tv, you can join the chat room there, or you can go to irc.twit.tv, and you can post questions for Terrence as we go, and I'll pass along as many as I can. Now, Terrence, you're a musician, right, as I am?
Oh, yes. Like I breathe. That's exactly what it's like.
Yep. I've been a musician far longer than I've been a journalist or anything else, almost. And I myself am a tuba and trombone player. You're also a brass player, right?
Well, that's why we get along, Scott. I'm a French horn player.
You're a French horn player, so we could have easily been in brass quintets together.
Oh, yeah. Probably crossed paths somewhere along the lines.
Somewhere along the lines. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I started playing French horn at the age of 10 and learned how to read music in 2 weeks, and everybody's in the band was like, huh? Who's this guy? And just kept moving on from there. So
yeah. I started playing trumpet, actually. I quickly switched, but I started playing trumpet in the 4th grade, whatever age you are there. But then I switched to the euphonium because in the trumpet section, there was all this pressure to audition to be first. And in the euphonium section, everybody played the same part. I assume there was some competition for the first chair, if you will, in the French horn section, though, right?
No, because me and Larry were the only horn players.
Oh, okay. Larry being your twin brother.
Yes, and actually, the videographer behind what you see back here.
Oh, so, yes, we should say that you're actually in your home theater, and we're going to talk about your home theater too. And we're looking at a frame from one of the movies that you did with your brother, and we're going to look at some of those and hear some of the music from those as well. I've got a really interesting show today, so sure glad you're with us. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you as a musician, you and I talked about this offline a little bit, but it's a very interesting question. In the realm of multi-channel music, I've had Mark Waldrop on the show a number of times. He's a champion of multi-channel music. He records instrumental ensembles all at the same time, no overdubbing, which I think is great. And he then mixes it in 2 different perspectives. One is called the audience perspective. It's as if you're in the audience and you're listening to the ensemble on stage in front of you, and what you hear in the surround channels is the ambience, right? The reverb from the hall and so on. Or you can choose the ensemble or stage perspective, where you're in the middle of the ensemble. Most people that I talk to prefer the audience perspective. I myself prefer the stage perspective, and I imagine you would too, because we're so used to being in ensembles.
Well, yeah, Scott, I mean, that's the best sound we're going to get personally from your perspective and mine is you can't beat the bass of a bass drum right behind you that's shaking your gut, you know, and it's not just the listening experience, it's the experience itself. I mean, and playing Pines of Rome and you know, the Planets, Holst, and just playing these amazing, huge things. And you can't top the chill factor. Not only playing it and hearing it, it's just it's an experience that you guys got to try it.
Yep. I agree 100%. I agree absolutely. Even if you're not a musician, if you have any of the AIX Records releases, Mark Waldrop's recordings, and even if you listen to the audience perspective for the most part, give the stage perspective a try. I don't think he has any full orchestral music. He might, but it's mostly smaller ensembles. But man, you mentioned two of my favorite pieces, Pines of Rome and Holst the Planets. Boy, when you're sitting in the middle of the ensemble, you're right. You feel it down to your bones. It's
totally incredible. And playing these wild horn parts and just feeling that high and just owning it is and in fact, when there's actually a full choir and actually placating to the audience in that way, that you are one, you're actually a unit within this 100-piece orchestra, and it's really it's hard to describe.
It's hard to describe, but it's really very profoundly affecting. So
yeah, but getting back to what you're talking about, the immersive music. Mm-hmm. You know, when DVDs first started coming out in '97, well, actually it was around there, wasn't it?
Around there, roughly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, right at the same time, there was 2 DVDs that I bought, and they were DVD music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and one was actually Holst the Planets. And and it gives you that perspective of emulating what it would sound like in this cathedral, which has a 7-second delay and things like that. And I really found that very fascinating, and it came to me as more realistic listening to an orchestral recording.
So yes, well, because you're used to being in the orchestra, and that sounded more natural to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard that one, but I will definitely. Well, it's probably not available anymore. Maybe on eBay. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll mail them to you. You can borrow them.
Oh, okay, cool, great. Well, let's talk about film composing, because that's what you do these days. How did you get into it?
You know, I've loved movies all my life. And of course, starting music when I was 10 years old, you know, I was very passionate. I was actually more passionate about the music and the movies than I really was for the movies. And if it was a good movie, you know, I certainly love it doubly. And so I was following the composers at the time, you know, of course, Williams and Jerry Goldsmith and James Horner was a huge influence in my day. You know, when a lot of high school kids were listening to rock and roll, and I listened to rock and roll. I'm not saying
good.
that.
I do too. In fact, I'm going this Saturday to the Hollywood Bowl to hear Steely Dan.
Oh, awesome. Incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So refresh where we're going there.
Oh, just how you got into film composing.
Okay. Yeah, so the soundtracks were, you know, a huge influence, you know, in conjunction with what I was doing, you know, in my real life, as far as, you know, playing music with adults and groups and being the advanced in that stature, I guess. And so I started improvising piano because I started to become, well, I could say a different word here, but I became kind of used quite a bit, you know, as a horn player, and it served me quite well. But I wanted to find a way to, and remember what I say here, is to get the notes off the page. And so that's actually what created a huge spark of improvisational and creativeness that was born into me. And so I started doing that when I was 16. And that was a really amazing shift in the way I played music, but also how I approached music.
And then you
And so
also,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you
Well,
had finished there.
Well, just a little bit, into the future after that, I went to University of the Pacific in Stockton, me and my brother, and as a horn performance major. And, after the second year, or towards the end of the second year, Larry and I are like, I don't think so. And so, he went the photography and video way, and I actually became a theory composition major. And that was a really incredible thing. I'll talk a little bit more about what happened after that. So let's go to you, Bob.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that actually you and your twin brother, Larry, did a lot of collaboration even early on in your life, making little movies. Was it as early as high school?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We actually made a feature length film, called Orb.
Okay.
And I did a little acting, if you want to call it that. And Larry, of course, had the Canon L1 camera back in the day. It was a very fancy camera, that big white one with a big lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a handful of films, and we had fun. I mean, it was goofy, but we were skilled enough to actually pull it off. And so it wasn't this cheesy like cut thing here, and
Yeah. Your
so
typical
it was,
high school production.
right. Well, it was a little bit above that. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And so we carried that idea, into our current worlds now, and that will always be with us, and certainly is with me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the process of composing for a movie or a video, not necessarily a full-length movie, but that too. But how do you approach it? What's the process? How do you start?
Well, the start is, okay, what project are we doing? Okay, is it a documentary on agriculture? Is it a action film? Or is it kind of like a healing video? And so there's many different emotional aspects that go into the different genres of media. And so with that, I say, okay, I'm going to do an action film. Then I'm actually going to have some certain ideas, and obviously we're not going to be doing new age healing music in this kind of
in an action
plateau.
film.
Well, we haven't seen a movie like that yet, but
that might be kind of interesting, but probably not commercially successful.
Right. Even claymation animations and stuff like that, you have a certain, just templates that I work upon as far as the emotional, notational flavor of it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll take a simple idea. I'll take a simple idea that I just make up. And quite honestly, Scott, most of the stuff I make, and compose it's all improvised. And so even for the theme song for the show, I just play around, and it's a lot like Frodo's journey in Lord of the Rings. I don't know where the end's going to go, and I certainly don't know where the middle is going to go. And that's actually the beauty of it, because I'm writing my own book. I'm writing my own musical story in real time, and it's actually linear. And so that's kind of a beautiful thing for me. Wow. It works for me.
So you actually compose more or less from beginning to end? You don't like start at the end? You and I both watched the John Williams AFI tribute last night. And I remember him saying one thing towards the beginning, that he actually often starts at the end.
I didn't see that last night because I don't have TV, and I certainly want to catch. I really want to see that.
Oh, it'll be on. I'm sure it'll be on, YouTube or Netflix or something like that. You should check it out.
Well, that's funny about John Williams, how he does that, and his approaches are actually very, actually kind of different than mine, and he's certainly a lot richer than I am.
Well, that's okay.
No, that's the understatement of the millennium here, boys and girls. Anyway, to start a film or to start a piece at the end, to me, would be like more like video editing to me. But see, that's how he works. Mm-hmm. And so if you take the movie E.T., and of course with Spielberg, he has the flexibility to say, hey, Johnny, write me like a 10-minute piece for the end, and I'll edit I'll edit the film to that, and that's why it's so incredible at the end. And so that's kind of the things that happen, But I work linearly mostly.
Yeah. It's Chickenhead 21 says the true definition of a progression of composition. And I have to tell you, my father was also a composer, and he did it much like as you do. He didn't do film scores and things like that, but in his composition, he did tend to do it linearly from beginning to end. And
that's really awesome.
Yeah, there, different strokes for different folks, kind of thing. So, we have a few examples of some of the work that you and your brother have done, and I'd love to play them. I don't have the list on me right now. Josh, I know is queued up with YouTube. These are all on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, which you can see there in your lower third. It's youtube.com/TLH Productions for Terrence and Larry Huntington.
Yeah.
I guess let's start with Venus Solar Transit 2012. This is really beautiful. Check it out. Now, that's what I'd call New Age healing music.
Oh, yeah. I can do it. And that's funny. Since Larry's also a musician, and it gives him an awesome perspective on film editing. And a lot of the stuff that we have done is done to the beat. And so a lot of the things are actually cued. And obviously not that last film.
Yeah, right.
But it's fun to work with not only my twin, but in a way that's musical. So, it's not only, a bunch of videos put to random, tempoed music. And so it's very interlaced with us. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate people in the industry that actually pay attention to that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't say all the time that's necessary, but certain things, it really does make an impact, whether we see, as a viewer see it or not. Or hear it. Mm-hmm. It is actually, it's there. So,
yeah. So Loquacious in the chat room is asking, so it's a series of noodling around till it feels right?
Oh, noodling around?
Would you characterize it as noodling around?
Oh, I don't know about that. I would say my job is not noodling. I'm actually very passionate about my noodling. I find a lot of the noodling, whatever term, fiddling or faddling, I think that's actually in post, and it's not really coming from my end, because once my piece is done, it's done. And that's the beautiful thing. And in fact, that last piece that you just heard, which was the New Agey sound effect thing, that was something I did for private use for my own, for fun. And so Larry, of course, just put that music onto that video. So not all my music is tailored or pre-designed for that specific film. And I'm sorry I didn't answer your question about noodling.
Well, you wouldn't call it noodling exactly, but you are improvising, and you're kind of looking around. If I understand you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're sort of improvising, trying different things till you find something that you think will work for a given situation, a given emotion, a given level of activity.
Okay.
And so
I know how to answer that person's question now about noodling with the music.
Okay.
Now, working mostly in synthetic computer environment musically, the first noodle of approach is a sound. And, this goes beyond these typical sampled instruments like piano or French horn or percussion. So if there's a synthesizer sound that's like very unique to me, it moves me and inspires me to actually move forward. In fact, a lot of my pieces were based off of one sound and basically a couple notes going back and forth.
Well, listen, we've got a lot more to talk about, but before we do, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors for this episode. It's Corning. Now, Corning can greatly improve your audio-video workflow with their strong, durable, and far-reaching Thunderbolt and USB 3.0 fiber optic cables. Whether you're into high-end video, photography, audio production, or computing, Corning's optical cables will allow you to build a convenient workspace through a superior long-distance connection. Corning's USB 3.0 and Thunderbolt cables are incredibly strong and flexible. They have exceptional cable runs of up to 60 meters or 200 feet for Thunderbolt and 50 meters or 165 feet for USB 3, making it so easy to move noisy, space-consuming devices away from your workspace. Corning cables are even hot swappable, and you can daisy chain up to 6 Thunderbolt devices. You can also bend or walk on Corning's ultra-slim cables. Even if they're tangled, they keep transmitting at top speed. Universal Audio relies on optical cables by Corning to achieve acoustic isolation in their studio, where they test new equipment, such as their best-selling Thunderbolt audio interfaces. I've used Universal Audio devices in the past, and I can tell you they're really, really good. Instead of investing in multiple extenders, adapters, and cables, turn to Corning to establish the connection you need with one simple, long-length cable. Corning's products are available at all major electronics and professional AV retailers, including Apple stores, Amazon, B&H, and more. Corning's cables are longer, thinner, lighter, and stronger. Go to corning.com/twit to save up to $130 on Thunderbolt optical cables. Now, this promotion is only valid from June 1st to July 31st, or while supplies last, whichever occurs first. So be sure to take advantage of it. Just go to corning.com/twit to save on their unbeatable Thunderbolt cables. And we thank Corning very much for their support of Home Theater Geeks. Okay, we've got a couple other examples of your work with your brother that I would love to play. One of them is another astronomical one, which isn't quite the same as the last one. By the way, that Venus transit, I remember seeing that. I have some welder's glass, basically, that lets you look directly at the sun. Don't ever look directly at the sun, even in a solar eclipse otherwise, without having this like welder's glass or something like that, because that'll cause permanent damage to your eyes in a big fat hurry.
Yep.
And in fact, before we get to the next one, I assume Larry took some pretty serious precautions with the lens of his camera while shooting directly into the sun as well.
If I remember correctly, of course, he's using some serious ND filters, to actually get that effect. And I'm sure there's UV applied to that. Now, yeah, I think he might have taken a few risks here and there, but I think he knows more about that than I do.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Okay, let's take a look at the solar eclipse 2012. I specified probably about a 30-second or 1-minute clip here. Let's see if Josh can find it. Yeah, that's just so cool.
And you know where that is? It's actually in our front yard. You know, and
No
and
kidding, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can fade that out. That's just really nice. Another example of sort of ambient sound. And in fact, Beatmaster is asking, when you use a synth tone as a basis for your creations, do you translate that then to a full live orchestra, or do you use virtual instruments all the way through?
Virtual instruments all the way through.
Do you ever try to recreate the sound of an acoustic orchestra?
Yes.
With samples, obviously.
Yeah, I just did Total Recall, Jerry Goldsmith's first, the introduction, which was difficult, but I pulled it off. It was really cool.
What do you mean? What do you mean you did Total Recall Jerry Goldsmith? You mean you reproduced it?
I replicated it down to the exactness of everything that he did, and
wow.
I was inspired because he's like one of my favorites, and obviously can't play a sample of that because certain people own that and I don't.
Right.
And the synthesizers were actually difficult to emulate, so I combined a different sense to create that. But I was able to actually use the new strings and horns packages that I have, which actually make it too easy almost. It's crazy. This whole new world of, virtual. We're talking about virtual reality and virtual audio, and so it becomes, this is a new thing for me, kind of it's mostly sweet with a little bitter, if you know what I mean. But getting back to the question, I really haven't. I mean, I include organic instruments like a string player, a guitar player, things like that, into a synthetic environment. So mostly for a situation like that, it's actually all in a bed of computerized world.
So you do bring in live players once in a while, just to augment the synthesized tracks.
Oh yes, and it's hugely effective. It's hugely effective. This project I just worked on, I mean, it wouldn't have been that music without Rondi. Thank you very much, Rondi. She's the violin player I live with, and it's just amazing, how that one instrument on top of a whole series of sampled strings makes it so wonderful, including my own horn on top of other horns. It's
right, of course.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great trick.
Well, the other two clips that I have marked here, I wonder, do either of them have any of these acoustic instruments on top? One is Little Bird of the Yuba, and the other is Going Coastal.
Okay, those two, I have to go back in time in my head here. I believe that those two are all in a computer environment where I'm using all synth sounds essentially. Now going Island, which was the other film that you didn't get to watch, but that was a much bigger production where I included 5 or 6 different real musicians, and that was a really fantastic thing. But anyway,
did you give that clip to Josh? Josh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he can.
I don't know if you can find it, but I was not able to play it. Called Going Island. And
there it is. Turn it up.
Okay, let's listen to a little bit of that.
Real flute.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Hang on.
Oh.
That's the same goat. That's how zoomed in he was.
Oh, wow.
So that flute player was recorded in my bedroom.
Oh, no kidding. And was that you
Yeah.
playing French horn as well?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Somebody asked that in the chat room, if that was you playing.
Yeah, it seemed like a lifetime ago. You know, taking the time and recording and re-recording when your chops are shot and
Man, I know that story all too well.
And so that was the great thing about that, and it still is. You know, I just take the musician part out of the equation more or less nowadays and let other people do it.
Well, you live with a violin player. You could bring in a flute player. I actually know a great trumpet player who lives in your neck of the woods. So if you ever need a trumpet player, let me know.
Great.
Well, it all sounds great. That obviously had a lot more movement to it. That one other track I'd love to play, and that's Little Bird of the Yuba. We started at 107. I think a really good place to start. Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, Little Bird of the Yuba, I should have brought down the statue at the trophy we won. It's funny because it's a rock. I mean, and it's engraved by Patagonia, and it's got our names, and we got a prize for that. Up here in Nevada City at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, which tours around the country. And that's a big film festival that goes around, and I've butted heads with, you know, Patrick Stewart and had a conversation with Daryl Hannah back in the day up here. So it's kind of funny. It's a little town up here. So we won a contest for actually this specific movie. So go for it.
Cool. So number 107. All right, fading out from there. Yeah, man, that's really, really nice.
It's really, yeah, I agree. Call me a girly guy or whatever, but you know, when I make something beautiful, I'll just cry, I'll bawl, and I might look rough and tough, but whatever. But that's just that's the emotional part of me that makes the music so beautiful. So I mean, and the whole thing, and when the bird lands, you're gonna dun 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 dun. So Larry's editing that to my music, and that's a beautiful relationship.
I noticed that the bird actually landed and took off on certain beats.
Yes,
specifically.
and that's on purpose.
Yeah. Somebody here, Conky, was asking. Looks like Kauai. Where did you film Little Bird of the Yuba and also? That was Going Island.
Yeah, Going Island was Kauai. I think I haven't been there, but it's the Wailea Canyon.
Okay, Conky was right. All right.
Yeah, and I definitely want to go there. I've been to Maui, but I want to check out the Upper Islands.
Mm-hmm. And what about Little Bird of the Yuba?
That's up here at the Yuba River here on the South Fork up here, and that's a major river system up here in the Gold Country. So. And there's a lot of great energy surrounding that river system. So,
Well, those are really beautiful examples, and there are others on the website, or at least on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/TLH Productions. But as you said, that's sort of the past. So what are you working on now, and what's coming up in the future?
Well, I'm always raising the bar for myself, and that's just the awesome I don't know, the awesomeness that I like to kind of, you know, like for this show, the music I did for this show, I'm thinking, well, that could have been better, you know, but next time, you know, and
always,
but,
always.
Yeah. And so I like that about me, and the fact that, you know, without like being judgmental or, you know, weird about it, I just take things to another level, and you can actually see the evolution in those films that I've done, or, you know, that we've done, that the bar does raise. And that's actually the whole idea of life, is to kind of learn from the past and move forward in different ideas, and keep upping the bar. At least that's what I like to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so right now I'm actually, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Right now I just finished a project called Working Lands, and it's not officially released yet. And I think that might actually go across the country. I'm not sure. Certainly in the film festival avenue. And so that was a very, very difficult but very rewarding project, because there was no narrative. And so without a narrator, the music is like it becomes like double duty. I mean, you have to seriously, you know, have some solid stuff.
Well, that was true of these films that you made with your brother as well. There was no narration, no no words, no voiceover.
Well, yeah, and they're only 5 minutes long.
How long is this new one?
Over 50 minutes. So in 96% of it's all music.
Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah, and so I mean, we're talking. I mean, think I did more work than James Horner did in the movie Aliens. So I mean,
there was more music in this one than there was in that one, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if Josh has the new theme music for Home Theater Geeks on the TriCaster. Probably not, and it's something I should have asked him for. But if it were possible, okay, we don't have it, unfortunately, and that's my mistake for not suggesting it. B-Master is asking, do you have a preferred genre of movie or content to make a score for, or maybe one that you haven't gotten to do yet but really want to?
That's a really good question, and it applies to really kind of like the movies I like, you know, which is science fiction. But you know, we're kind of so blown up in this whole world of big bombastic scores and stuff like that, and I love the idea of doing things that I've never done before, because the challenge of being able, well, geez, you know, just like in the last project I did, I had to do some country music, you know, some song, you know, like some twangy stuff, and actually got to work. And doing that put me in a new compositional. It lengthened my palette, you know, for the different colors. I'm like, wow, oh yeah, I can do this, you know, that's really cool. And so I actually playing my little harmonica, you know, and doing things like that. So a movie, going back to Beastmaster, you know, I like drama as far as being a composer for drama films, because it's easy music to do, but I also like a twist. So if you took like a movie like, if you're to redo the music to like The Illusionist or something like that, I don't know, a movie like that, or a movie that's really never been thought of, I would love to be a part of that, because I'm not your average Joe Schmo, as you guys are starting to learn here.
I think I am starting to learn that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to do different things and keep the awesomeness that, you know, that's the core of my musical soul.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we are going to talk a little bit more about the new theme music for Home Theater Geek, because I can't help myself. I really want to. And I want to hear about, but we're going to try, and we're going to even try and get it. The engineers at TWiT are fantastic. They're working diligently to get that. So while they're doing that, Josh, can I do my second thank you at this point, or are you busy? Okay, good. Then I think this is a good time to do it. I would like to thank our second sponsor for this episode, which is Epson. Now, Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home or office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. Instead, it features an innovative refillable ink tank, earning it the title of CES 2016 Innovation Awards honoree. The EcoTank ET4550 comes with enough ink to print up to 11,000 black pages or 8,500 color pages, equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. you're loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors and laser-quality black text, plus auto two-sided printing, a 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. The Epson EcoTank system was named a 2016 Small Biz Windows Printer of the Year. Really nice kudos for that. Epson also recently introduced their Creative Print app, making it easier to preserve your Instagram and Facebook photos. Download the app to create personalized photo collages, custom greeting cards, stationery, and coloring book templates. You can also print photos directly onto CDs and DVDs. Be creative on the go. Print from your mobile device to a variety of compatible Epson all-in-one printers within your wireless network. Visit Epson.com/Ecotank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's epson.com/Ecotank. And we thank Epson very much for their support of Home Theater Geeks. Epson, exceed your vision. So I'm talking with Terrence Huntington, who is a film composer and who in fact composed the new theme music for this very show, Home Theater Geeks. In fact, here it is. Yeah, man. Very cinematic, which is exactly what this show needs since we often talk about movies and cinema. So fantastic job. Thank you so much for doing that.
You're so welcome. And this is kind of funny and you're going to laugh. Is actually, you know, the style of this music is towards you, Scott. It's actually shaped to your personality.
No kidding, really?
No, I do that. I do actually write to people on the screen. I can feel their energy, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. But yeah. I look at it in retrospect and say, yeah, that is awesome. It totally fits Scott and his show. It's totally cool.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So I was going to ask you sort of what inspired you. How did you come up with this music? And you've just given me the answer right there.
Well, yeah. And also I wanted to, you know, personally thank you guys, ABS guys. Most of you guys are cool.
Twit guy.
You know, I've been a member since '99 on the ABS forum, and I just feel like it was pay it forward. You know, I've learned so much about home theater and the science of it, and I really felt that I could give back. You know, just using the skills. You know, and there you go.
Well, I really appreciate it, and so does a lot of the audience. Terry Kay says, that's a lot to live up to. Well, and I agree. And Beatmaster says, yes, it's very uplifting. Like I hope I am. So that's fantastic. Just wonderful.
Oh, and Scott, there's actually a 20-second clip, which is actually the end cap for the music that I did. And it's the same at the beginning, but it actually has a much bombastic ending, like when you say geek out at the end. So let's see if we can hear that.
Let's hear it. All right, man. That's so cool. That is so cool.
I think I just geeked out with the conducting there, but
I was tempted to do that myself. Yeah, no, that does it. It has a wonderful lift to it, you know, sort of a send you off singing kind of thing. So I thank you for that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Let's take a look at this graphic, which is a screenshot from the program you use to compose, which is called Logic 10. Tell us about what we're looking at here.
You're looking at basically 37 tracks of virtual instruments and MIDI. This is MIDI information. The green that you're seeing is MIDI, which is computer information that's actually laid into each individual track. Down below, you're seeing the mixing board and actually all the major effects that are happening in real time. So we have Space Designer, we have Game, we have Delay Designer. We have several different things going on. And fortunately, I have enough memory in my computer now. I have 24 gigs to actually do this. And so as you're going across, you can see that certain things have a lot of different. There's an expander there. There's just different things going on. I know enough about this.
A lot of different things going on.
Yeah. I know. And see over there, stop right there. See the ARP where it says ARP and it's green? That's actually arpeggio. So it's actually a plugin that arpeggiates, which is actually instead of one note, it would be da 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 da, or it'd be like a da 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 da. So it's on a repetition scale.
Yep.
And so I use little tricks like that as well.
Oh yeah. Okay. Funny when you say ARP, the first thing I think of, showing my age here, is the ARP synthesizer, the analog synthesizer from the 1970s.
Okay.
But arpeggiator makes total sense too. And there's a lot of tricks, a lot of computer tools that you can use to arpeggiate things and make all kinds of different effects. And you've used them to just such great effect here. iPhone 95589 says, wow, what a great theme.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Or thank you. iPhone what?
iPhone 95589. Sometimes these screen names are hard to remember, but yeah.
Well, iPhone 95, thank you very much.
Yes. Web3828 asks, how big of a display do you work with with that much information on it?
27-inch iMac, which I'm looking at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to do dual monitors, and sometimes I wish I still had that system. And I can do it. It's just I'm lazy right now.
All right. Well, it really is a beautiful piece of music, and I am honored to have it now as the theme for Home Theater Geeks, and I thank you very much for that. Now, let's see, iPhone 95581 just posted a comment here regarding your comment earlier about things being timed to the music. It is true. In the duel of EP1 of Star Wars, some of the saber swings are indeed timed to part of the duel of the
exactly.
Yeah. That's an important thing in movie composing generally.
Yeah, and there'll be blatant things in movies, where they have I forget which films, but you'll have like a dun, where it zooms in, dun dun dun, and they'll actually do the music to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a classic example, and of course you don't want to do that all the time. But thanks for pointing that out, iPhone 95. That's great, because watching a movie is not just, it's the whole thing. So it's the music and the movie, and it's beautiful, So it's just one. It's not separate. It's not just visual.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, the last thing I want to talk about here before we run out of time is your own home theater, which I featured as a home theater of the month on AVS Forum. I guess it was about a year ago now, right? Roughly?
Actually, it was July 14.
Oh, July of 2014. So almost 2 years ago now.
I know.
Well, things are going to change quite a bit. But and what I have to show everybody graphically are the photos, some of the photos that I featured in that piece, and things have changed since then. We'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, let's take a look at the first of them called Number One. This is what you had to start with.
Yeah, and that's actually a panoramic picture off of my iPhone before we actually stepped in and actually did anything.
Right. This is in your basement, right?
Yeah, and you can actually see the pillars in the center of the screen. There's the pillars in the front, so there's 3 pillars there. The one in the foreground there is actually used for part of the HVAC wall now, but the 2 we removed.
Mm-hmm.
And the two beams that you see above were reinforced with these very, very strong wafers. In fact, the house is stronger than it used to be.
Huh. Because you've reinforced it in that way, even though you took out these beams.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And then we have some after pictures. I didn't want to show all of the pictures, but here's a couple of after pictures. And it's called, by the way, I should tell everybody, it's called the Duck and Cover Theater. Terrence, why did you name it that?
I don't know. I just was thinking of those 1950s films, with the kids. They used to have the drills. I never went through that, but you get underneath the desk, and I may have done it once or twice. But
to the point is, it's a very low ceiling.
Well, that's obviously that too. So it's a duck and cover, as far as height, because it is. And please don't share that old picture of me.
No, I will not. I did not send that one.
Yeah, and so that front beam that's tan in the back there towards the screen, I can basically almost touch my head with that.
As you're standing there near the screen, yeah.
Yeah, and even though the ceiling is low, the acoustics are the best I've actually ever heard in any theater, any demo room, and I'm not kidding you guys.
Yeah. I'm sure it sounds fantastic. Let's take a look at a couple other pictures of the finished product. Here's the equipment rack, so to speak. And I know that this has changed, and we're going to talk about how things have changed in a bit. But there's the seating.
The Salamander Designs Mateo recliners.
Yeah, those must be super comfy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you put a couple of regular theater seats behind them. And I guess that makes sense. I don't find regular theater seats to be particularly comfortable, though.
I love them. I absolutely love these. I love them.
Okay.
It's a great switch over to the front row, which is actually more cushy. But my back will last a heck of a lot longer in the back row because they're actually very nice theater seats.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Now, this is a funny thing to mention. Right now, there's no pictures, but I have a third row now. So I have virtually underneath the projector, right behind those 2 seats, I have a vintage Nevada theater seat from a real movie theater locally here, which is actually the oldest running theater in California.
No kidding. Wow.
I'm serious. And a lot of events are held there. I've played there before. It's downtown Nevada City, and it is the oldest running theater in California history. Still today.
So what, did they replace the seats and you got to get some of the seats they replaced?
Kind of scored on a few, so.
Yeah, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about how you've updated the theater since these pictures were taken 2 years ago.
Okay, well, let's go back to the main shiny one, the main beautiful picture. Let's go back to
number 2. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So the major change that you're actually going to see, besides the components we'll talk about, but you guys and gals can see the shadow box, what we call. And
which is the black area around the screen, which is really an important feature.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how important that really was until about 4 months ago. That is so black, you can't even see. In fact, if I aimed this camera, you couldn't see anything. So what you're seeing now is flat black true value paint. And now it's blacker than without the shiny, it's pretty much blacker than that air conditioning duct above there. And I've moved the signs. So the screen is, you call it the floating screen. That's the whole effect now. And it's totally a different experience.
Yeah, and the reason it's so important is that it improves the contrast of what you're seeing on the screen without having any reflections coming off of the sides near the screen. You really get a much better picture, a lot more punch to it. And you knew that 2 years ago, but now you've improved it significantly.
Well, that's a funny point, Scott, because you don't really realize, especially us our own, us guys on AVS who have screens, and until we try something, we don't actually realize there's slight reflections coming off the walls. And then when it's gone, you're like, whoa, that's crazy, because, it's a relationship, so it's really a neat thing. So I can't recommend it any higher, It's awesome.
Compy 386 in the chat room is saying, for true theater authenticity, you need a sticky floor and lights in front of you that come on randomly during the show to simulate texting teens. I love that.
Oh, well, it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah.
No, it's not too bad.
Another thing, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to mention that main picture again. What I did was I took that subwoofer. You guys can actually see the Epic Tower, which is kind of a rare sub nowadays, and the thing will not die, by the way. Zoom in there, Josh. Right in between the chairs, you can see that big sub. And now that sub, if you want to, okay, you can see that. And you pull out. Now you can actually imagine that right where the DTS and Dolby Digital signs, that it's inside the wall there now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mounted it in the wall. Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of resting, it's got a platform underneath the house there. And the black velvet is, I lifted up the black velvet when I did the installation. So now it's totally invisible.
Wow,
and that really,
that's great.
That really changed the movie experience, because now there's not this big block in front of you. So that was great.
True enough. True enough. One of the other big transformations that you have undergone over the entire life of this theater is the number of projectors you've had in there. It's really quite astonishing. We have a graphic to show how many different projectors you've had in there. And
this is the projectors I've had my whole life.
Okay, all right, not just in that theater. All right, so you're obviously a projector maven. You really like projectors.
Oh yeah, I got a $7,000 loan back in 1997 to get the VPL W400Q Sony, which you see on the upper left there. And that thing was a pain in the butt, but it was amazing though. I walked into an incredible universe as an electronics store up here in Sacramento, and I saw Sharp Vision, and by today's standards, the picture it's pretty bad. But I was totally in awe. I'm like, that's what I'm doing the rest of my life, is to bring the movie theater home. And that projector was Delta arranged pixels at a 800 by 600 resolution. I know it's the first. I think it was the first 16:9 consumer projector on the market.
Well, you're right about that. Bringing the movie theater experience home, you really need a projector. A flat panel really doesn't do the trick.
Well, yeah, I mean, size is a big thing when it comes to presentation. I mean, of course, we all have to have compromises. Not everybody has a room like this. And I used to be in the business, at being a consultant and installer. So I became, I had to become creative, with very challenging rooms.
Yeah.
And especially people, well, why can't this happen? Well, you've got like 14, bay windows. So you have to do a few different tricks, but
yeah, no kidding.
Just the music that a major thing about, and the home theater is such a beautiful marriage. It's really, really a fun thing to apply both together.
Right. Conky is asking, I hope you tell us what projector you're using now.
Okay, Conky, let's get that picture back up again, and I'll give you 5 virtual dollars. I want you to guess, and I will tell you it's going to be on the right side of the screen, the 4 over.
Yeah, it looks like a Sony to me.
What's he saying?
I didn't see the whole thing. I've only got a 4x3 window that I'm looking at.
Oh, I see.
Just let's cut to the chase. What do you got there?
It's the JVC DLA RS20.
Ah, okay, JVC, which is a fabulous projector. They've been making among the very best home theater projectors for many, many years. Deepest black levels. They still haven't gotten well, Sony projectors have, but nobody else has gotten to a true 4K resolution projector yet. And JVC is among those that do this, what's called pixel shifting. They call it E-shift, which takes a 1080p imager and shifts the pixels back and forth really quick to simulate 4K. Is that, I forget if that model does that or not.
No, it does not.
Okay, so it's just before that.
Yeah, and I got this used, and my general rule of thumb was to upgrade every 3 years, regardless if I needed to or not. I just really had to do that. And I've had this projector over 5 years, and I've got over 5,000 hours on this projector. The thing won't die. I call it my Cadillac Escalade, and I don't like Cadillacs, but it's beautiful. It's just amazing picture. I mean, of course, things can get better, with the throw distance and stuff. I mean, the resolution would help, but and I was a Sony lover for a long, long time, and I decided to try the JVC, and I was like, this is incredible. The contrast. I mean, that's what really sold me, and that's why and with the anamorphic lens, it's just like a no-brainer. So,
okay, so you do have an anamorphic lens on it.
Yeah, I actually one of the ABS forum members sent me a free Panamorph PS100U, I believe.
Holy smokes!
Yeah,
nice guy.
I know, really nice guy. I forgot who he was, but I know he lived in Hawaii. And please chat if you know who you are. And
yes,
so
indeed.
this is actually the vertical stretch lens, and so that works out perfect because of the throw distance is 16, 17 feet, and so it's hard to do that with a horizontal stretch or horizontal squeeze. I mean, yeah. So,
well, that does give you full resolution using all of the imaging pixels on the imager to produce a widescreen image, which zooming the normal lens wouldn't do. You'd be wasting some of the pixels. So and you get a brighter image as a result.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see a whole lot of with this lens, I don't see a huge night and day difference, although I haven't done the zoom method in a long time. But I do have to say that watching the Faces Star Wars DVD laser discs, the laser discs, 12-inch
laser discs, really? You still watch laser discs?
Well, let me tell you, Scott, this is the only real way to watch the original Star Wars unaltered, and they were produced in 1995 before the special editions came out, and so having the anamorphic lens is actually a way for me to create a 16:9 frame within a 4:3 construct of the laser disc letterbox.
Oh,
so, yeah. And so that's it's like one of the only reasons I still have my Pioneer Laserdisc.
is to watch the original Star Wars in its original form.
Yeah.
But isn't that 480p? That's standard definition. It's not even high def.
480i. It's not even
480i. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even 480p. And so I have an up converter. I use a monoprice gizmo thing that plugs in, and it can convert it. It's an upscaler converter, and it converts it from composite or S video to either 1080p or 1080 or 720p output. And there might be a few hiccups here and there, but it does the job.
Wow. Copy 386 is saying, I'm hanging on to my VHS of the unaltered original Star Wars trilogy. I'm not sure I'd go back that far.
Well, I've been in electronics almost as much as I've been a musician. So 1988, I actually had a $400 JVC boombox, and I begged my parents for Christmas, and I got it. And that was the start of a new love affair. But going, with the VHS, I bought a $600 Hitachi VHS from Handy Andy, and it was fantastic. And we actually used it for editing and stuff. But then I soon realized that VHS is like cassette, the expensive cassette player I bought, and replaced it with CD. So during that time, in the early 90s, I was a huge Laserdisc guy because you couldn't beat it at the time.
At the time,
VHS,
certainly.
Yeah. So VHS had its limitations.
I should say.
But so did my wallet with all the Laserdiscs.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it seems to me that it's time for you to, I'm sure you must have Blu-ray in there as well, right?
What's that? Blue? I'm kidding. Yes. Yes, I definitely have.
Now it's time to upgrade to Ultra HD Blu-ray, which
Yeah, I would love to do that. Now, of course, money constraints. Having
Always.
HD. The projector. I think I'm just going to run her until she just kind of croaks.
Mhm.
The only thing I'm missing now, and unfortunately, as you guys on the forums know, is they're cutting off the Dolby Atmos tracks on standardized Blu-rays.
Yeah, they are in many cases. Yep.
Yeah, and I just got Atmos. I've got Gravity and Fifth Element and a few others, and it's fantastic. And I think upgrading the player to a Samsung right now would be kind of, I don't know, maybe too quick of a move for me right now. I think I'm just going to let things settle.
Letting things settle down is a good strategy. I often follow it myself, except when I'm trying to review something and then I need the latest and greatest right away. But one last question, and that's about streaming. Do you do much streaming?
I'm not really a streaming kind of guy, but as far as convenience, if I really want to watch a certain movie or film, I will rent it, physically, because I really want that disc in my, my player. Now, if it's a movie that I will not put high priority on, like Ted or some kind of, it doesn't matter, something funny, a comedy, then yes, heck yes, I stream all the time. And old TV shows, that is very necessary when we don't have TV here, and we're not really that TV people, but it's actually necessary to have streaming, with Vudu and Netflix and things and Hulu. And so I do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've come to the end of a fascinating hour. I want to thank you so much for being here and for your wonderful music that we've listened to, and especially the new theme music for Home Theater Geeks that you composed and we got to hear today. And we get to hear every episode at the beginning and at the end. I want to thank you very much for that.
Scott, you're very welcome. I like you quite a bit, and just getting to know you on the phone and just the candidness and the realness that you are. And I really want to thank you for that. And I really, working with someone having that relationship is so important, and great things can come of it. So I thank you for being you, and thank you for putting me on the show.
Oh, well, I'm highly gratified. I'm highly gratified. And it's been a mutually beneficial situation here. I really, really appreciate you being here. And I look forward to many more interesting conversations.
All right. Take care.
All right. That is Terrence Huntington, film composer and composer of the new Home Theater Geeks theme music. And you can find more of his work at youtube.com/TLH Productions. You can always find me at avsforum.com, and you can email me at scott@twit.tv, and you can follow me on Twitter at HTGeekScott and at avsforum. You can always find previous episodes of Home Theater Geeks right here on twit.tv/HTG and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/twit Home Theater Geeks. Next week, my guest geek is scheduled to be Executive VP of Product Development at QD Vision, John Ritter. And he will be talking about a new way that they've come up with to measure brightness on a TV. I should say QD Vision is one of the developers of quantum dot technology, which is now the big thing in LCD TVs. And they've got a really interesting white paper that they've published about measuring color brightness. And so that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And I do hope you will join us. Until then, geek out.